In this particular video, I want to share with you the 7 things that I learned or observed during the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain. And if this is the first time that we are meeting, I am Joe. And I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. The first thing that I learned and observed during the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain is that all the 11 teams managed to actually participate on that pre-season testing session. And that's very important when you consider the fact that during the pre-season checkdown in Barcelona, Williams was unable to attend. And being able to have all the teams actually in Bahrain, to me, is a success because it means all of them are ready, and we were able to actually see all the teams on track, gathering data, and continuing with their programs, of course, at different rates of success depending on how you look at it. The second thing that I learned relates to the engine regulations, and in particular, the issue that is affecting Mercedes, where some teams feel that Mercedes has an advantage when it comes to the compression ratio. This is an issue that could affect Mercedes as well as its customer team. And given that there will be a meeting of the Power Unit Advisory Committee where they are going to make a decision on this particular issue. So this is something that is becoming of a very huge issue, and I think there will be a decision, and we are going to see how that affects the Mercedes and her customer teams. The third issue relates to the fact that some drivers are not happy with the regulations in 2026. This has been a topic where drivers have spoken against certain aspects of the regulation, given that now they have had almost 4 days of driving those cars. They have their opinions and they have shared it. Some of them more stronger opinion than the other. We have had drivers speaking out. We have had Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso, and others like Pierre Gasly, Charles Leclerc. We have had conversations or opinions from drivers like Oscar Piastri, and all of them are speaking, sharing their opinions against certain aspects of these new regulations. Some drivers are talking about the whole idea of going slow through corners. Others are talking of the issue related to restart and restart procedure. You have others who are talking about the idea that now there will be less driving and more energy management. So all these are issues being raised by drivers. But I think the bottom line is that not all drivers are happy at the moment. And probably this is something that we'll continue to watch and see how things pan out over the course of the season, and whether the opinions will remain as they are today or they will change if things change as the season progresses. The fourth thing that I learned during the first week of pre-season testing is that the removal of MGUH could have some unintended consequences, and I think there is a law that relates to unintended consequences. And this is because one of the issues that have come back to Formula One, it was there in the 80s, then it went away, is the issue of turbo lag, where it is going to be an issue, especially when it comes to race start or race restart when there is probably a red flag or there is an accident during a race. And what this has brought out is the issue that now drivers need to manage the turbo manually, which risks having them to overrev the engines. And I think we have seen that during pre-season testing when the drivers were trying to do auto practice race starts. Drivers are saying that they need almost 10 and sometimes even 20 seconds to actually get the car going. And there's an issue that has forced McLaren to start a conversation where they are talking of changing the race start procedure or looking into how that can be changed to be able to fit into the new situation. Now this is an issue that is developing. It's an issue that I learned, and probably I'll continue to be curious about it more as things unfold and as conversations around restart and restarts continue, because it has also raised an issue of safety, because we do not want some drivers to be able to actually proceed with the race while the others are unable to actually start. And as some drivers have also intimated, some drivers may actually stall on the grid or when they are about to start, meaning that they will not be able to actually start the race or even restart. So this is an issue that might continue being there if it's not solved, and probably it will make the first race in Australia very interesting, because I would want to watch and see what happens during a race start or even when there is an issue during the race. The other thing that I have learned during the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain is Aston Martin is struggling. And this is a team that is coming with a lot of hype, given that they have Adrian Newey as their team principal and part of the team. And there's quite a bit of change that has taken place with Aston Martin. So a lot of people expected the team to actually hit the track going or, start on a very good stead. But from pre-season testing or pre-season check-down in Barcelona and the first week of pre-season testing, Aston Martin have even confirmed or admitted that they are actually behind the schedule, and they feel that they still have a lot of work to do. And this is surprising because a lot of people did not expect that, but I think it is what it is. But it will be very interesting to see how Aston Martin progresses over the course of the next few races and over the course of the season, and how they also solve the issues that they are facing at the moment. But at least we can all agree that they are not starting at the place or at the point where they would have hoped to start. And I'm looking forward to seeing how they can be able to actually probably end the season on a high note. The other thing that I learned from the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain is that Audi and Cadillac are actually doing very well when you consider this to be their first season in Formula One, at least in recent times. It is very good to see that the teams could be able to put together quite a huge number of laps. They continued with their programs when it came to whatever it is that they were trying to test during the pre-season check-down in Barcelona, as well as the 3 days of first pre-season testing in Bahrain. I think you and I can agree that Cadillac and Audi now have a very solid foundation from which they can be able to continue with their program, and I am wishing them all the best. And it is very good to see that Audi were able to complete 344 laps and Cadillac were able to complete 315 laps in what is their first season in Formula One. The other thing that I learned from the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain is Haas may be among the top of the midfield teams in Formula One in 2026. And they were actually able to complete over 386 laps, which actually ended placing them to be top 4 of all the entire teams. From all the laps that Haas were able to complete, and also the amount of work they did during the 3 days of the first pre-season testing in Bahrain, to me it is clear that the Ferrari engine that Haas is using is actually very reliable and also competitive. And that may be a very good thing for Haas because it might put them right in front of the midfield. Of course, it will be interesting to see what other teams are able to do, but at the moment, I am particularly very impressed by what Haas has been able to do. Those are the 7 things that I learned from the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain, and I am looking to the second week of this pre-season testing in Bahrain and to also see how teams are going to run their programs and what it is that we are going to learn from what is going to take place during the second week and the final pre-season testing in Formula One as teams prepare for the first days in Australia. I would also want to know from you what you learned from the first week of pre-season testing in Bahrain, and whether you have any view that is different from what it is that I have shared with you. And if this is the first time that we are meeting, I am Joe, and I would really appreciate it if you would consider subscribing to this YouTube channel. Watch the video on your screen right now, and I'm going to see you in my next video.